Instructor, founder of Park Meadows Pilates and Physical Therapy in Lone Tree, and this is one of our frequently asked questions. We have a series of frequently asked questions from potential clients or even clients who've been coming to us for a while to see us either for physical therapy or Pilates or some of our other movement classes and some of our other services. And this question we get quite often, even from people who've been doing Pilates and haven't tried some of the other disciplines that are out there. So here's the question. The question is, how is Pilates different from yoga? And that's a great question because I think Pilates and yoga get lumped together a lot. They are put under this umbrella of mind-body exercise or mind-body disciplines. And in a way, they both are mind-body disciplines, but ideally, we should be working our mind and our body together all the time. So what happens in a yoga class, typically, is that there are a large number of people in a room together with one instructor. You could have anywhere from maybe 5 or 6 people up to potentially 20, 30, even 40 people in a class, depending on where you're going. Most of those people have not ever taken a one-on-one session with their yoga instructor, and they don't really know how they look objectively from a third party, from another pair of eyes in space. Not that that's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but our view of ourselves is usually somewhat distorted. So we show up in a yoga class, and this is true of other group fitness classes as well, and we listen to the instructor, and the instructor is giving us cues and information, and it's very generic, it's very general. It may pertain to me, it may not pertain to me. It might pertain to, you know, the guy 2 people down, a couple of mats down from me. I don't really know if the cues that the instructor is giving me are meant for me or if they're meant for somebody else, because I don't know three-dimensionally how I appear in space if I've never worked with another movement educator or movement coach on my specific movement. So one of the big differences between a dedicated Pilates studio like ours and a yoga studio is that in yoga, you usually are not working one-on-one, have not worked one-on-one with an instructor. Also, the class sizes are usually quite large. In Pilates, if you're going to a studio that is respecting our guidelines, our industry guidelines, which by the way is voluntary, it's not mandatory, you have no more than 6 people in an equipment class, and you have maybe 10 people in a mat class, potentially up to 12. Most of the time, you have been given some individual attention before attending class, or you're getting some individual attention during class. Many times in a yoga class, what you'll see is the instructor doing all the exercises with you. So the instructor is up in front, they're doing all the moves and poses and that kind of thing with you. In a decent Pilates class, the instructor is doing minimal demonstration and a lot of coaching. So you should be getting some individual direction. Hey, Susie, you know, this cue, this instruction I'm giving is specifically for you. So one of the big differences, yoga, not so much individual instruction, some, but not a lot. Pilates, especially if you're going to a Pilates studio that is respecting our industry guidelines, you can get more individual instructors, smaller group sizes, and potentially, especially if you're in equipment class, at our studio, you will receive 3 one-on-one trainings before you even get into an equipment class. So you will know if our cueing is specifically meant for you or the guy on the reformer next to you. So that's one of the big differences. The other big difference between Pilates and yoga is that yoga tends to take you to the end of your range. Now, not all yoga is like this, but a lot of the yoga that we're doing out there in the world at the moment is about getting to the end of range. So pushing yourself as far as a joint can go and then holding that pose. In Pilates, you're moving through movement using full range of motion in all exercises. What that means for you, for your joints and your tissues, is that in yoga, if you're pushing into end range, if that's as far as you've ever gone before, your joints and your tissues, especially if you're, over 25 or 30, your joints and your tissues actually can become damaged when you're pushing that end range, because the receptors in your tissues are actually not active. So we have these little receptors in our joints and in our tissues that say, hey, wow, you just went way too far. And if you're doing hot yoga particularly, you've switched off those receptors. So that's why quite often you'll feel worse a day or two after a hot yoga class, because you're actually bashing up into the part of your tissue that's already stretched or overly tight, and it won't go any further, so you're creating damage. In Pilates, we're moving to our barriers and coming off them, more like how you're using your body in real life. Now, again, that's not true for all yoga. I know Iyengar yoga is a lot more movement and flow. So flow yoga classes are a little bit more like Pilates. So that's the second difference. The third difference is that in Pilates, if you're going to an accredited studio, Pilates instructors have taken way more training in anatomy, biomechanics, and how the body's really designed to work. So one of the things that you need to ask, whether you're taking yoga or Pilates, is how many hours of training do you have? How much anatomy and biomechanics have you had? And that's true for both disciplines. So you just need to be aware that some yoga trainings are only a couple hundred hours. Some Pilates trainings are even less than that. So you need to find an instructor, whether they're Pilates or yoga, who's had a minimum of 450 hours of training, and additionally has had at least 20 hours of anatomy, if not more than that if possible. So anatomy and biomechanics training. So hopefully this helps you sort some of this out. I like to think of Pilates as being more functional in terms of how you are designed to move your body through space and through life. And yoga as being a little bit more about stretching and flexibility. But keep in mind, if you're over 30, you may not be getting more flexibility. You actually might be causing more damage. So choose wisely whether you're choosing Pilates or yoga or both, and make sure that you're finding a studio and an instructor who can really help you understand how your body's designed. Thanks for watching.